welcome to another edition of The One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm rested. We had a snow day, so I didn't have to go into school today.
Yeah, good start. Good start to the year. Happy
Yeah,
2025, everybody, and
yeah.
thank you for tuning in. And hey, kicking off the new year with some guests, uh, fellow Philadelphia Union podcast. Somebody I've been listening to now for a about a year
Mhm.
and about a year and a half. I started
Huh?
picking you guys up about halfway through your first season, and
You
Aw.
were the
guys.
one.
Yeah, and then it kind of bloomed from there. You guys are always retweeting us, tagging us in your tweets. We always do the right thing and
Thank you, Christy.
Mhm.
retweet that.
Yeah.
And it just some I've always really enjoyed your podcast. So our guest today is a More Philly Union podcast. We have Christy, Paul, and Eric on. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Glad to be
Very
here.
well.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much for
having
Yeah.
us.
having us.
Thanks so much. This is a real treat to be here.
Yeah, so before we get started, Jillian, what are all we all wearing today?
All right. Yeah. I was cold because I keep our house nice and cold. Because the electric bill's expensive. So I just put on my favorite Union hoodie pretty much. It's the Live Breathe football one. That light
Oh,
blue.
nice. Yeah.
And underneath I have a Matvey Michkov Flyers shirt because he's been exciting. And so I'm fully on the Michkov mania. And Kyle, you are?
Since we have everybody here from some more podcasts, we brought the Squirrel Squad. This is a custom-made jersey. I forget where I got it. Somebody had reposted this, and then Todd Lewis, his sister, we all got these and posed before one of the games with
Oh,
all
nice.
these. They do, I forget the name of the designer. It came out like right at the beginning of the year. Like a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people from the Bridge Brigade were retweeting this. So we got them. And yeah, Squirrel Squad, they do them for
Nice.
like all the MLS.
Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
actually saw one. Where did I see it? On Twitter or someplace today. I saw like one for like a different team.
I
Like,
saw an Austin one a couple months back.
yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Squirrel Squad. It's a.
Yeah, Pokemon.
Yeah.
I was
So
saying this is like Pokemon.
it's
Yeah.
a Pokemon. Yeah, it's so like one of the original episodes they had like all the Squirtles and there's like a
Hmm.
Squirrel Squad. But anyway, they made that kind of took that and made it into like team stuff. It's
That's
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool.
Very
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
So let's go through and what are you all wearing today?
Ladies first.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Well,
Lead the charge.
so my t-shirt is one that I made or had made when Latu retired.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it is Latu in sort of a imitation of the love sign. But so I made the artwork and had it made. So it's a blue t-shirt with gold lettering.
That is
Um,
awesome.
That is awesome. That's
Yeah.
And Christy,
Yeah,
you made
people-
them for all of us, right? Because I have one of those
I
somewhere.
think
don't
I think I think I
Or it's
just made
just-
one for you. I don't
Oh,
think I
sorry,
made
Yeah, I
one, Paul.
wasn't lucky enough.
I know. But yeah. Sorry, Paul.
That's
But-
okay. I think you actually got a picture of you wearing that shirt with Latu when we went down and one of the preseason jersey pickups that one
I
time.
might have. Yeah, I have to
Yeah.
see when I
Mm.
finally met him. Yeah. After so many false starts.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what I'm wearing.
Cool.
Nice.
Eric, you want to go
Uh,
next?
yeah. So I'm going old school. So I got year one jersey.
Mhm.
And I think I got this right before we got married, wasn't it?
No, it was right before the first home game.
Sorry.
Or no,
I'm-
first match, period.
But actually,
Like,
Paul didn't.
the day we got married
You got
was
one for me. I
That's what it
believe.
was. That's
Yeah.
what it was. So okay,
and the day we got married was the day that they revealed what the home jersey would look
that's
like.
what it was. Yeah.
So
Yep.
there's
I've
we were
worn
very
that
intricately
jersey enough
tied.
that the piping's starting to fall off
Peel
of
off,
mine,
yeah.
so I only break it out for very
Special
very
occasion.
rare occasions these
Yeah.
days.
There,
I would have brought it out today, except that I decided to wear my Christmas gift from my
Mhm.
wife, created by my daughter, who's been on our podcast a couple times. Noelle, she
Yeah.
decided she wanted to get us some gear, some amorph. So I'm actually wearing a hoodie right now. It's a More Philly Union hoodie. that actually Eric and Christy both helped design, thinking that they were gifts for me and for Eric. And then ended up being gifts for all three of us. So
Yeah.
it's kind of nice. And then underneath that, I do have my Simpsons, Union
Oh, there you
jersey
go.
with the blue and gold camo.
Oh, yep.
So I am repping the Union as well under there.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's something like that reminds me. I'm really excited for when they do the kit reveal because I've heard some things here and there of
Yes.
what it might look like. I don't know anything for sure. I've just heard like secondhand info, but I'm really excited
Yeah.
because that's
What's the
always a
scuttle
fun
on
thing.
it?
We can't really say too
we can't
much
really
yet,
say
Okay.
right now. No,
but yeah.
I'm really
Bethlehem
excited.
Steel 2, right?
We hope.
That black
That was a
jersey
great
still
jersey, though.
rocks.
Yeah, I
That was a
love
great
that.
jersey.
I'm
Oh, man.
still looking for that one.
Yeah, he's always looking on like eBay and stuff for that.
And not the Brian Carroll that's like $300. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, BC.
Yeah.
Yes. So go ahead.
All right. So before we continue, make sure to subscribe and follow us, interact with us, because we love hearing from you. We're on Twitter. I refuse to call it X at TOTWAG. You can find me at silly_Jilly or Kyle at Coach Almany. We're also on Blue Sky, also at TOTWAG. I'm at Jillian Almany. And you're also at Coach Almany on that. We're on Facebook and Instagram at The One Team We Agree On, and our YouTube channel. We also have the podcast on YouTube, like as podcast. Now that's a new thing.
Yeah, and now we're also on Amazon because a whole bunch
Nice.
of
Right. Yeah.
That came through.
well, we're not officially on there yet because you know how that goes when you like subscribe and all that
Yeah.
and send your feed. They're like, yeah, we're still processing, and it takes a couple days, sometimes weeks.
Yep.
Technology, but yeah.
Yep.
Those will be coming along.
And then in addition to that, of course, Apple and Spotify
Yep.
podcasts. And be sure to check out our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. I have a new article that's in the works.
Probably coming out tomorrow.
Probably coming out tomorrow first thing because I actually had time to do things today.
Nice.
With the snow day. So
yeah,
yeah.
and I'll be on the roster signings announcements today that they decide for Union 2. So
Yep.
all right, so let's get into it. So can you all everybody here just tell me how you got into the Union in the first place?
Did I go
I
first?
see I see Eric's look
It's
face
a-
like how did I get
I'll let Paul
Yeah,
lead the charge.
Paul, you
on
can drive for now.
Yeah.
So how we got into the Union specifically
Mhm.
was actually through the initial season ticket holder announcement. Like we had been following along. We had heard some of the news reports. Obviously we had heard rumblings about the Sons of Ben. At that point, none of us had joined the Sons of Ben. But I did hear about the roster announcement or the season ticket announcement. And so I threw it out to E and a couple of my buddies. I was like, look, I want to get tickets. I'm going to get a season ticket package. Who would be interested in sharing it with me? And, we've been season ticket holders since the very, very beginning. I probably was one of the first couple hundred people that they called to get seats because we got stupid great seats that we are never giving up.
Yeah. And it's in some of our wills at some point.
Yeah.
Exactly. The only thing we might do is look to add a couple of seats in the river end at some point when my son's a little bit older and wants to go to games on his own. But yeah, I mean, right now it's like that's where we started from was when the season tickets became available. That's when I got into it, and then been following them ever since rapidly.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys are OGs. That is awesome. I know
Yeah.
we're a little newer into it ourselves.
Yeah.
In fact,
I mean,
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, like, do you want to share the story?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah,
that
go.
might be a good segue into. I know we've had
Why your
requests to.
podcast is called
Yeah.
The One Team We Agree
Yeah.
On would be helpful,
Yeah.
especially as we're staring at you guys with
Yeah.
That one I do know, but
the Miami Dolphins banner right next to the Eagles banner. I didn't think
Yeah.
that they could get along inside of this 50-mile radius.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can be marked safe from having to
Deal
be
with
at
that?
odds next season because the Eagles and the Dolphins are not playing in the regular season next year.
Right. And I can also say that if you've been on social media, and again, I always say social media is kind of a very small very small vocal area of what really is going on with the club and how the fans truly feel sometimes. I mean, you
Mhm.
usually get the people that are just going to explode. So, I mean, it is what it is. You take it with what it is. But man, Dolphins Twitter after they got eliminated yesterday by the Jets. I mean, I'm like, people are talking about dropping their season tickets, firing the owner. Owner needs to sell the club. And I'm like, wait a minute,
Sounds like the Union
yeah,
I was gonna
fandom.
say.
yeah, like I'm like texting people like, wait a minute, it's Dolphins. What is going on here?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But
good.
yeah, actually Kyle and I went to the Eagles game though, yesterday, and
It's
so
fun.
that was fun. That
Mhm.
was his
Mhm.
first NFL game. That was
Yeah,
my
Oh, really?
it was my
yeah.
fourth, but my first at the link though, because the last time I was at a home Eagles game was 2000 at the Vet
Oh, wow.
Oh,
The
lucky you.
in high
vet. Oh,
school.
man.
Yeah.
So, and I'd been to an away game at the Meadowlands with the Eagles. That was a horrible game where McNabb got sacked 12 times.
Mm.
That was in 2007. And I went to one Jets game actually. But yeah, so we had a good time even though it was cold and they rested all the starters. But
Yeah.
anyway,
And
it was
shout out to Jimmy King and
we saw Jimmy
Cameron and Kristen.
Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a
So
few of our Union friends there.
yeah, so
So
Oh,
shout
that
out to
was
cool.
them.
cool.
Great
But
hanging out and tailgating.
yeah, so unfortunately Kyle isn't an Eagles fan, but he got to experience that
No,
yesterday. But
I had a blast. And
yeah.
I grew up, so for you guys, I'll tell the story. So
Sure.
I grew up in York, Pennsylvania. Long story short, grew up following the Orioles, Phillies. Kind of when you're in York, Lancaster, you kind of some people are Steelers,
York is kind of a
uh,
weird area. Like I'm from
hodgepodge,
Lancaster, but
Okay.
hodgepodge.
yeah.
So, but I always used to go to Phillies games, follow the Eagles, etc., etc. In fact, the Hershey Bears, big Hershey
Yeah.
Bears hockey
Mhm.
fan,
Sure.
be a Flyers affiliate. So used to go Flyers games going up. And then, you know, as I got into elementary school, started finding teams out, and we're also Penn State fans. And grew up very, very big Penn State household. My dad used to take me to games when I was little.
Mm.
And one day I'm just sitting there watching TV, and they play I forget, it was an NFL commercial for the Dolphins and Dan Marino. And I remember going to Dan Marino games when Penn State and Pitt used to play back in, very early days. And I remember saying to my dad, like, isn't that the guy who played for Pitt? Like, I'm like 5'6", years old. And he goes, yeah. And I go, and I like the colors, the
Hmm.
aqua and orange.
Hmm.
Growing up, those were some of my favorite colors.
Yeah.
And I just kind of started watching the Dolphins. And my dad's like, oh, they're a really good team. Don Shula and
Right.
Marino, was taking off. So I started following the Dolphins. That's how I became a Dolphins fan. How did I become a Calgary Flames fan? My best friend growing up is an Edmonton Oilers fan. And if you remember in the 80s, Gretzky, all
Hmm.
the Oilers were the team to beat in the
Mm.
West. And the one year, 1986, Lanny McDonald, the Flames, beat Patrick Waugh and the Canadians. And that's when I started following NHL hockey. Plus, I loved the red and yellow. So you'll
Hmm.
find a theme.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love when I'm a 6-year-old kid.
When you
Love that.
first you feast with your eyes, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And just started becoming a Flames fan, more or less, despite my friends. So him and I have fun rivalry, but over the years, we both stayed with our team,
Yeah.
and we're both in our, I'm 45. I think he's 44 now. I mean, we both are stuck with these teams. And I mean,
Well, yeah. Once you
and,
pick.
and then Timberwolves, well, that's a random one because I was a Duke basketball fan. Christian Laettner got drafted, and I just
So
kind of stuck.
you followed Marino to the Dolphins, and you followed so and so to the
Probably
Timberwolves. That's reason enough.
and then the Giants is a weird. Okay,
The
so
San Francisco
San
Giants.
Francisco Giants is
I was
on.
going to say, wait a second here.
That's probably the most interesting of how I got into these teams. JT Snow was the first baseman for the Giants. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, so he got drafted by the Yankees, and he was in the Albany Yankees when they played in Harrisburg. And we used to go to Harrisburg Senators games
Mhm.
all the time.
Mhm.
And when I was a kid, I was standing there with a baseball. My dad giving me a baseball. I'm just standing there, and all these people are like going around signing these players. And this guy just comes up to me, and he's like, "Hi, would you like me to sign your ball?" I'm like, "Sure." Signs the ball. JT Snow. Shakes my hand. Um, gets traded to the Angels, takes off, has a great rookie season. All right, go, and I'm like still following this guy. Go down to Baltimore, make a poster for him. Like, hey, do you remember signing my ball in Harrisburg? He did. He remembered
Wow.
signing my ball, signs my poster, signs another ball, and then I started just following him. Wins all these
Oh.
Golden Gloves. He gets traded to the Giants. Now I'm in middle school at that point, but I'm just so invested in this guy's career that I just basically said, I'm gonna be a Giants fan. My dad kind of grew up liking the Brooklyn Dodgers. His cousin Gene pitched for the Los Angeles Dodgers for like a half a season and then blew his shoulder out, was never the
Mm.
same. And it was the year they won the World Series. So he got like a ring and all
Wow.
that. So it was
Wow.
it was kind I don't
Wow.
know if he got a ring, but he got like something that
Yeah.
like, hey, you were on the team for like the first month and a half before you got
Yeah,
injured.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Thank you. So I kind of became a Giants fan just because my dad would tell me stories about Giants, Dodgers, all that. And so that's how I became a Giants fan. And no, I'm not the biggest Barry Bonds fan. I respect what he did as a baseball
Hmm.
player, but I also know what he did.
Yeah,
I'll
the
leave it at
Astros.
that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Kyle has a very convoluted story. And then my story is very simple. I'm a lifelong Lancaster, Pennsylvania resident,
Yeah,
and I like all the Philly teams
yeah.
because that's
Cut
because
and
my
dry.
family likes all the Philly teams. And my dad took me to my first Phillies game when I was like 5, and we were a big Penn State family as well. And that actually we do Kyle and I agree on Penn State as well. So there's really two teams we
Really
agree on.
too.
But talking pro teams, the Union's the one
Yeah.
team we agree on. And that is, of course, why we are called that. And then we started this podcast in 2022 after returning from the MLS Cup in LA.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh God, love you.
And,
Mm.
and and really, we had thought about before because I had like another podcast, and I had become friends with a couple of the other podcasters in the community, and they're like, "You're always going to the tailgates. You're always going to the games, the road
Hmm.
games. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. No one's covering this stuff, and we're trying to just grow the fan
Hmm.
base, get people interested." And I
Mhm.
said, "You're right. No one is. Everybody's trying to break the news," and I'm like,
Hmm.
we wanted to do a little bit more and get people engaged and share the stories of the fans
Yeah,
and
more the
and
fan
Mhm.
experience.
Yeah.
and it just kind of happened to evolve from there
Yeah, it's crazy because I mean, Kyle has he has a communications degree. Like
with a
this is
focus in journalism.
Yeah, like this is
Nice.
more of
Nice.
his like so he's doing something he actually has a background in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I'm a middle school teacher.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the
like
rest of us have no
oh,
clue what we're doing.
Yeah.
yeah, this is what like he'll be in the press box a lot of times. I'll be in the river end, getting that angle of things, or sometimes I'm in the press box. But Union 2, we're usually both in the press box. But
But we
you
always
know,
still go around
yeah.
during the game and try to get down the stadium and talk to
Right.
everybody
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
like
just
Union
say, hey,
2, we
what are you
go down,
feeling? How
talk.
you feeling?
Yeah, and of course, and we'll be at the Sons of Ben tailgate, or like walking around
Hmm.
Union Yards, like doing different stuff. So
Yeah.
we really like want to offer something more than just like analysis or whatever. We want to have
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
fandom
we
of it
kind of
too.
reckon that resonates with us
Hmm.
because our approach is also, yeah, we talk about the games, we get a little bit into what we thought, but it really is much more of a friend sit around.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
after the game, if you were out having a beer with a buddy the day or two
Hmm.
afterwards, what
Hmm.
you would be talking about. That's kind
Yeah.
of what our approach has always been with ours. Now, I will say I'm a little envious that you guys get into the press box and
Oh,
you get some behind the
questions.
scenes access, which is great,
Yeah.
but you're also covering Union 2, which is an
Yeah.
underserved audience,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
you do a great job doing it. And
Thank
I,
you.
it's been wonderful. I've been listening I'll admit I only picked you guys up about midway through this season,
Yeah, me
but
too.
it's been a lot of fun to get a chance to see and hear, learn little bit through your experience with what you've seen with the Union too, and it's been great. So thanks for doing it.
I
Well,
appreciate that. And I appreciate like you guys, you have, yeah, like it's a very, enjoyable conversational
yeah.
approach that you guys have, and you get kind of the fan angle of that too, because like at the end of the day, we're all like just,
Hmm.
fans
we're
of this.
we're trying to grow
Yeah,
the
we're trying to
club
grow
Yeah.
the team. Yeah,
because
grow
I
the fan
think
base.
it's such a MLS when you think about it, hasn't been a league hasn't been around as much. I mean, you just celebrated what, 15 years?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
2010.
I mean, they haven't been around that long. So for us to try continue to build and spread the word of the union, and so to
Hmm.
speak, it's fun
Yeah.
and it's enjoyable
Hmm.
and we credit you guys as well because I can listen to your podcast and just have fun and laugh and
Hmm.
it's
Oh,
like
that's awesome.
yeah, this is some similar conversation we had on the car ride home from
Yeah.
Subaru Park
Hmm.
at
Yeah.
12 o'clock at night trying to get
Yeah.
in from
Yeah.
Well, I was
trying to
kicking
No
stay
idea what
myself.
that
I
awake.
is.
meant to send you a what if question or two for
Yeah.
your last podcast, and I just
Yes.
never got around to doing
Yeah.
that.
No, but keep that in your back pocket because next year we're gonna try to keep doing it. We keep getting bigger and bigger with this
Yeah.
episode. My
Great
my
idea.
concern is we're gonna have like part one, part two eventually. Yeah,
That's just
so
all of the off season is what
Those
if.
are
yeah,
the problems you
exactly.
want to
It
have,
writes
though.
all your episodes for you during the off season, you
There you
know.
go.
It
It's
it it really does.
yeah.
So I mean, can you talk a little bit about what are some of your favorite moments with the union? I mean, you can just give one or two, but if we want to start, uh, ladies first, you can go
Oh
ahead,
boy, oh
Christy.
boy. Pressure. Um, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember the year. 2019
I'm not going to be able to remember my year.
playoff game against
New York
New
Red Bull.
York Red Bulls.
Yes.
Oh, this
Mm.
was such a great game.
It's because it started out so terribly,
Such a
like both
Yes,
on
it
a
did.
personal
Hmm.
level and on a
Hmm.
game level.
Yep.
Like it was raining.
It was
Yeah.
like you guys had talked about the Seattle game being stuck in your car. I like it
Yes.
reminds me of this game. But go ahead, Christy.
It was raining. I don't know if we weren't late. I don't know. Maybe we were, but like we somehow drove through all available parking options and ended up on the street, God knows where. And Eric didn't feel well.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling
So
so great.
he was
Hmm.
dragging his butt in there because you do
Mhm.
that. And
Playoffs,
so
Red
it
Bulls.
was a miserable experience all around just to even get to our seats. And then we started losing. I thought this was all for naught.
Right.
This is just, and something happened and we
Yeah.
started winning. And I was like, this can't possibly be happening.
Yeah.
And he started feeling better.
Yeah.
That's 2 stadium hot dogs will cure you. And
Yulia.
yeah, worked in this case. And then all of a sudden, I still have the video on my phone of us all, screaming like, "Oh my God, they did it! Oh
Yeah.
my God, they did it!" And I remember putting it up on social media, like just my own personal account, and my friend saying, "I don't know who did what, but congratulations, I guess." So yeah, we were just so excited. I think Eric is like high-fiving a tiny Noel. It was just, it was all over the place. But
Yeah.
that's one of many, but like that's one that
Yeah.
stands out for me.
That was
Yeah.
a
That
good one.
that's
Yeah.
awesome because I kind of remember a little bit something similar. Remember, we were sitting there
We
at
were in 138 for that game. That was
yes,
our first,
like it
playoff
was
game,
first
obviously.
playoff game, second
Yeah.
time in the River End, and the time before was decision day loss to NYCFC. I guess what was that the week
Mm,
before? Yeah,
mm.
that
Yeah.
year. And I remember it started raining, and they're down 3-1. And we're sitting there getting some food, and I'm like, well, if it gets any worse, we're just gonna head out,
Mm.
And like, it's miserable. We all remember this game. It was
Yep.
miserable.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, this is not what we wanted. And then Jack Elliott scores that goal, I believe. Believe that was Jack Elliott scored that goal, make it 3-2. Um, just
You're asking for more than I remember at the
I
moment.
know.
I believe that was it. I'm gonna have to go back now and
I
reference
mean,
I would trust your memory.
Todd,
Got it.
Todd and Jose, if you're
we
listening.
all remember Marco Fabian. So,
Yes, but we go back
yeah.
and we go back to our seats and we just are like, oh, it's 3-2. Let's stand. And then of course another goal goes in. 3-3, and then Fabian's goal, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing
Yep.
thing.
Mm.
We're gonna get season tickets next year. We're going to the first game against
You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just
San Jose. We're gonna get some tickets. We got everything kind of planned out. Let's do a couple games. Maybe we'll go in. Of course, we know what happens. Everything we come out 2021. Finally, we're just like, let's get playoff tickets. I mean, season tickets. So that's
Yeah.
what we kind of did in 2021. So
Yeah, and by the way, yeah, it was Jack Elliott scored.
The
Yeah,
second goal.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it
because
didn't
Bedoya actually had the first
and didn't
goal,
Fafa have the
and then yeah, Fafa had the third one. Yeah, I had to
Okay.
refresh my memory of
Good
that too.
memory.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
I'm
there you
gonna
go.
trust your
I did not remember though.
Fafa, who is now at Miami.
yeah, we
Yes.
saw that news. That was a
Yeah,
little
Yeah, a little upsetting, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah,
yeah,
Miami is
yeah.
Well, they're
Well,
it's
gearing up for
Miami.
their club run, the
yes.
World Cup
Hmm.
run.
And you're
Yeah.
seeing that with Seattle too. I mean, Seattle's
Hmm.
always in the news now with all these
Yeah.
players because they got
Yeah.
you get that was it $50 million for making the tournament. You can pay some players to load
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, Anybody else want to share their memories?
So
I, you got one,
I've
Paul?
got
Go ahead.
one. If
Go
if
for
you
it.
want me to go first,
Yeah,
then.
go
Yeah,
ahead,
go.
Paul.
So I guess it's more of a proud papa moment, but
Mhm.
and also it emphasizes one of the things that's a little unique about the union in Philadelphia sports world, where my son, they had for season ticket members one time they had an auction item that you could for so many 100 200 points or whatever that you union points that you earn through the season, you could bid on a chance to be selected for your kid to be selected to walk out one of the union players and be a part of the procession out. And so as soon as that came up, I just threw all of my points into it. As far as I know, I might have
I
been
remember that. Yeah.
one of the only 20 some odd people that actually did that. I don't know, but we got selected. So my son and I got invited down to come in. He got in a full special union ambassador kit that the kids got to wear
Oh,
because
nice.
he was in the age range because you had to be between, I think it was like 8 and 12 or
Hmm.
something like that.
Like altar
And so
servers,
he was, what was that?
like altar servers.
Yes, exactly. He got all geared up. They did special socks. They had like a little like a locker room for these kids, and the kids are all getting
Oh, cool.
excited. And then, excuse me, when the kids go to meet them, he kind of lines himself up first because his player, the one that he most wanted to meet, was Andre Blake because my son's
Mm.
a goalkeeper. He
Hmm.
loves Andre Blake. He
Nice.
loves Zach McMath beforehand. I think he still has a picture of Zach McMath on his wall. He's 16 now. And so anyway, parents all get invited out to the sideline right up close so you can see your kids coming out. And he comes out second, walking out. Andre Blake was captain that day. Kai Wagner was right behind him. So he's walking out with Kai. He's having a little conversation with Kai the whole way out. I have no idea what they're talking about. He doesn't remember. Apparently, he got snaked at the last second. Some girl decided to
Oh,
step in and
oh,
step in front.
Hmm.
But hey, he ended up with Kai Wagner, which was great for him. He
yeah,
loves Kai as well.
yeah,
But that was awesome, getting a chance to get an experience in a professional sports team environment that you don't normally get. Like that's
yeah,
not an option in a lot of the other sports, and you have that opportunity here with the union as a season ticket member
yeah,
it's something I will never forget. Now,
yeah,
game I could go on about a number of different games where the union have won,
Right.
they've
Hmm.
lost. Those
Hmm.
have been great, but as far as impactful to me, I think that was probably my number one.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's such a cool memory for him. Oh my
And
gosh.
then that's the great thing. You have these memories that just stick with you, and
Hmm.
so awesome. Eric, anything?
Real quick, I was going to say that during the pandemic, we got one of the rare tickets to go and
Oh,
just watch, and we were like one of
Hmm.
20 people. Um, but
we have heard stories. Sorry to cut you off there. We have heard stories from people that were at those games. It was a magical time, from what we
it was
understand.
it was surreal and
Yes.
awesome at the same time because we had to all be spread out. We all had to wear
Yep.
masks and all that stuff. But we're watching this game and just the audio environment was like just sitting at like a middle school or high school game. It was so quiet. And as Christy will attest to, there's a trait in our family, especially amongst the guys, who we can just boom our voices. And yeah, you go to a regular game and you're shouting and all that, your
Hmm.
voice blends in with everybody else. When you're the only one who you're like, come on, guys, you got to pick. Like you literally see something, they turn and look. And it was with this awesome power now comes this awesome responsibility. So that was a very unique experience. And then we're friends with one of I used to play soccer, or Paul, you and I used to play soccer with Sean over there in the was that not art
marketing
yeah.
department.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so often when they're photographers and stuff like that, we'll get a picture, and if we're in it, he'll usually send us a copy. And I guess we got a copy. No, it wasn't from Sean.
No,
It
that
was
was
on
media.
NBC.
Yeah,
No, right?
one of the local stations used a picture of us. We didn't know it was taken in
Yeah.
our masks, standing up by
Yeah.
ourselves, clapping for like the Union resumes,
Yeah.
play or something like that. And then they used it again for something else, totally unrelated. I guess we became a stock photo for a little
Yeah.
while, and I had people was writing to me on social media like,
Yeah.
So it actually ended up being our
I made
Christmas
a
card
Christmas
that year
card. So
That's awesome.
because it seemed appropriate for 2020 for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, that is
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, that would have been so weird. Like I know we went to a Phillies game when it was still like when it was
Yeah.
just kind of coming
Mm.
back, and
Mhm.
it was wild. Even there was a lot more people there than there would have been at the Union game, but still like that was such a weird time.
It was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of funny at the Union 2 games now. They've gotten to have more and more crowds, which is great. But like the amount of things you can hear, like one of my favorite parts of that was I could hear like every word Marlon was yelling at the players, and that was always entertaining for sure.
For sure. Do you want to go on with the big news? I'll let you
Yeah.
have the big news.
All right. So of course, the Union had their big announcement about Bradley Carnell being the next head coach for the Union. Of
Mhm.
course, this news had to come out on my first day back at work after Christmas break.
Yep.
So with and then the press conference, it's like, oh, boom, it's going to be that day.
Yeah.
Could not
Yeah.
attend, of course, because I was busy, doing my
Both
day
were.
job, but you both were. But you got on the Zoom though. But
Yeah.
um,
I'll talk about that in a second.
yeah, so basically that was the big news of the week. We'd kind of heard rumors here and there of
Mhm.
that, but
Yeah.
he has been announced.
We kind of heard it coming, but just kind of one of those things where we kind of want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row before we jump on it.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
basically, fourth head coach in the club history. Ernst Tanner said, with knowledge of both MLS and international markets, he's tactically astute and aligned with our sporting strategy. His approach emphasizes a high press style of play while organizing a structured defense. Additionally, he shares the club's vision for developing players. We are confident he will bring a clear sporting philosophy that elevates the team and delivers a competitive season. We look forward to welcoming him to Philadelphia. Basically Ernst is getting his yes man.
Yeah.
And then Carnell had to say, Philadelphia is an amazing city built on communities of hardworking and passionate people who truly love their soccer. I'm excited for this opportunity to build upon an already solid foundation and aim to help raise the Union organization to the next level that our fans and city can be proud of. And he had stops at Red Bull and St. Louis. Of course, he was their
Mhm.
first coach.
He was interim with Red Bull.
And
Canada too, right? For a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So he's been around. I mean, from the press conference, really wasn't a whole lot said. I don't know if you guys watched the YouTube. Wasn't a whole lot said. I mean, the biggest things that stuck out to me was Ernst saying, once again, I mean, I think the development whole thing can be.
If there was a drinking game and you had a
Uh-huh.
Oh,
drink
yes.
every time
We
Ernst
literally
said
were talking
development,
about
you would be
that.
on the floor in 5 minutes.
Yes. So I was at
Yes.
the end of the season press. Well, the Jim Curtin,
Yeah.
letting go one, and we literally were like, "My gosh, if we could clip this up, this could be something." But
Quite the
I appreciate you saying that, Paul, because we really have had the same exact conversation. But he talks about the 60%, in
60,
transition,
30,
30.
10.
Yeah, 60,
But
30,
just
10.
real
It's like,
quick, I
okay,
just wanted to make
that's
a
a
quick
Red Bull
comment.
way. That's a Red Bull way. So you already know he's going to be
Yeah.
fit. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah,
so
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
So I did listen to it. I did have to watch it on replay on YouTube. And
Yeah.
just as an aside, the audio.
Yes.
If anybody from the union is listening to this, please don't just do a mono left side audio when you do the YouTube broadcast. It's I mean, at least I could hear it, but if I had not had my left earbud in, I would not have heard a thing. So please get them stereo. But I will give them absolute kudos for putting an in-room microphone so you
Yeah,
can
for the
actually hear the questions this
yeah.
time. There have been
Yeah.
so many press conferences over the years where, unless the person presenting repeats the question,
Yeah.
you have very little idea of what was
Yeah.
asked. So, good and bad. Please, I'm asking for stereo, but thank you for the in-room monitor. And they were very quick on the sliders to get
Yeah.
us good feedback. But yes, Ernst was definitely all up on development again. And Carnell is definitely feeding into that as well. Rightly, as you would expect as
Yeah.
new coach trying to establish himself.
Yeah, it's
But
funny that you mentioned about the audio, by the way, because I had class during the press conference. I didn't get on it, but my students are working independently, and then some of them, a couple of them like soccer in there too. I'm like, all right, I'll throw the press conference up on
Mhm.
my screen
Mhm.
while they're working, and put the YouTube up. And I put up and like we could barely hear it because it's coming through my projector, and I was like, forget it. I turned it off. I was just like, I'll watch it later. But yeah, for about like 5 minutes, I had like the first 5 minutes on and we like gave up. But I know there's whenever I'm on the Zoom for the press conferences, I'm like, and a couple of the regulars, I will say, they like kind of mumble. It's
Mm.
Yeah,
hard to
and you
hear
can't hear.
what they're saying, and I'm like, and I'll like text Kyle. I'm like, did because like I might be somewhere else, and I'm like, did so and so ask what did he ask? I can't because I don't want to repeat the same question, or something.
Hmm.
But I know like every time I'm on, whether in person, especially if I'm in person, I'm like trying to like I'm well aware like it's hard to hear sometimes. I actually do try to like use my teacher voice
Yeah.
and
Usually,
and
Well, it's fun.
enunciate.
so usually a
Yes.
whole like if she's in or if I'm in there, we're like going back and forth because usually they'll go Zoom for some of these. So
Hmm.
Right.
like I'll be like, okay, here's what was asked. Go with this one. Go with this one. And
Yeah.
we're just trying to navigate. So it's an interesting dynamic at
Hmm.
times, but I do agree with you, Paul. Like there are times where I can't hear, and then I'll get called on. I'll be like, okay, I hope this one doesn't get asked,
Right.
Yeah.
like
Right.
or was
Yeah.
already asked,
Right.
Yeah.
because you really just can't hear, and they have gotten that better. And I give the communications department credit for that because that has been something that we people have asked for.
Yeah.
Because
Good.
But yeah,
so
so not to get off on too much of a
yeah,
tangent, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good point for sure.
that was a good point. And the other thing is, I just feel like everybody's like, okay, it's Carnell. This is kind of like he had a good first season last year, kind of went downhill, and I don't know. You kind of talked to some St. Louis City fans. There's
Yeah.
mixed reactions. There's always two sides to the story. Their side, his side, the truth, I always like to say. And I mean, could you have done worse? Sure. I mean, I think for me personally, I don't know how you all feel, but Ernst got his guy now. All the chips are on the table. And it's either going to go really good or it's going to go really bad. And I don't think there's a medium point. There's that
You
like,
don't think this is a rebound coach, is what you're saying, Kyle?
Mhm.
I do not think this is a rebound coach. This is Ernst putting his hand down saying, I was right all along,
Hmm.
and this is how we're going to move forward. And, you know, I want
I
to hear
think
you
it's
guys.
going to depend on whether or not we hear in the first few months any friction between the two
Yeah.
of them.
I,
Like, obviously, this is the hey, we just got together, everybody's happy go
mhm.
lucky,
Yeah. The
everybody
honeymoon.
smiles. And it seems like I think you're right that Ernst did try to find the guy who has the same vision as he does and is going to, let Ernst, pick the players, and then Bradley's going to put them in the positions that Ernst thinks they
Mhm.
would do best in, and he's going to try to handle the rotations. And if they are a good partnership, and if that actually is winning, if that works, then things will be good. Otherwise, it could be, I am jumping way ahead. If it doesn't work, it could be the end for both of them here in
For sure.
Philadelphia.
In
Yeah.
fact, I don't think it will take long. Well, maybe it will take till mid-season, but I've said this to her and I've said this to a couple other people. If it's in the summer and we're chasing the wooden spoon, you're down there looking like second to last place. Let's say Jay turns to Ernst and goes, "Hey, sorry. We did it your way. We got rid of the franchise, the coach people
especially
love.
since
Yeah,
especially since Ernst already said that, there was a long loss streak in the middle of this past season
Yeah.
that would have seen Jim go away
right.
in some
Mhm.
Mhm.
teams.
Yeah. And we've heard rumors from the river end, I'm sure you guys have too, that in the past there were times there was some friction between those two as well. So
Mhm.
Yeah, it definitely feels like this is Ernst getting his cake and eating it too. So it's kind of like
mhm.
this is the time he's gotta deliver with Carnell or if it doesn't work out because I think God, I think it was one of the recent episodes you're talking about basically it's kind of like this is gonna look bad for Ernst if this doesn't work out. It's
Yeah.
not gonna look bad for Carnell. In some respect, he's got like that golden ticket. Like, this is kind of more about Ernst than it is about Carnell.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be I mean, it is about Carnell. And
Yeah, it
Mhm.
I
is.
I I, I I think
So
a
is
lot of
this
what
the
he
big
was
transfer that we've all been waiting for? We didn't get a big player, we got a coach.
yeah.
I,
Well, Jurgen Klopp's doing Trivago commercial, so we were never going to get him.
no, I
True. Very
That's
true.
my choice if
That
we
is
had to
true.
get rid of
We
Jim,
had to
which
pause that. Wait, is that Klopp doing a Trivago
yeah,
commercial?
it's real.
yeah,
That's not a
right.
joke.
He
But
wouldn't come play for the US, but he would do a commercial for a travel agent.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
disclosure too, at least, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Paul, but Eric and I are very much still Curtin loyalists. Like
Yeah.
we, I mean, I don't know.
The,
We
the,
would
the,
just,
I just want to watching the press conference, and I do want to come back, but Chris ever started talking. It's like we like Carnell, just his personality seems
it
great.
seems
A lot of
fun.
what he
Yeah.
says, I think it dovetails very nicely with the current setup with the union. But what it feels like is mommy brought home her new boyfriend. And it's kind of like,
Oh,
Yes.
it's like, I like the old guy better, but
Yeah,
Hmm.
it
that's
kind of
kind of what
does.
it feels like to some degree.
Yeah,
that's an
that's a
interesting.
great point. Yeah.
No, it is.
Because we love Jim.
Yeah.
And that was, gosh, like I just started my lunch break at school, and I checked on my phone and I was like, what is this for real
Yep.
about Jim? I'm like,
Hmm.
what? And
Hmm.
I was like, no. Like, no, we actually, we were
We
big
had a
fans of
good
Jim.
relationship
We
with Jim as
did.
both as coaches. I
Hmm.
understand Jim's mentality,
Yeah.
very much so. And I appreciate that. I mean, I think he was a coach's coach and he was a fans coach. He understood the city,
Yeah.
he
He did.
understood the fans, and he
Mhm.
understood, when he would talk to people in the media, he would understand like, okay, you're trying to get the right information out there. He
Yeah.
appreciated that. It
Yeah.
wasn't
Mhm.
like sensationalizing it, kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was really good to talk to, and we both had a chance to talk to him at different points, and just really down to earth, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I
Yeah.
mean, never got too high, never got too low. I can tell you the players loved him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a player's coach, and there's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with that. Where he struggled in tactics, he made up for it with the way the players bought in. And, he knew his way around the soccer pitch, let's put it that way. He
Hmm.
wasn't the
Hmm.
worst tactician out there.
Yeah.
No.
So,
You know,
No.
So
there's
just
And
there's moments in life where some bit of news breaks and you remember where you were and what you were
oh
doing. And there's
gosh.
the good ones, there's the bad ones, there's the good ones. Like two of them, when we traded away Latu and when we got Latu back.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Jim Curtin because
Mhm.
Paul's wife actually broke the news to us, and we were like, "What?" Like it was on the chat, like, "What is going on?"
I still
Yeah.
remember when I heard that Curtin was gone. I was literally waiting at a Giant for a graduation for a program in the line to get like my wraps. We're getting wraps from a
Hmm.
food store, and all of a sudden my phone goes ding. I'm like, look down. I'm like, oh, what's this? And then it's ding, ding. It's like kind of like one of those horror movies. It's like
Yeah,
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
And it's like
coming from
all of a
inside
sudden,
the
Curtain smoke.
house.
yeah,
and I
yeah,
like look up and they're like, "This is not a drill. Curtains out." I'm like, "What? What? What?"
Hmm.
And the guy's
yeah.
like, "Sir, can you take your order here?" I'm like, "Yes, thank you."
What's the point? Everything's futile.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see
Yeah,
how Carnell works in here. I mean,
I think we
yeah,
deserve to give him a fair shot.
yeah, that's the thing. Like,
100%,
yeah,
Yes.
100%.
And I
yeah.
will say, I am encouraged by this. So,
Yeah,
if you've ever listened to our podcast, we have
Yes.
St. Louis connections in the Guy's family originally from St. Louis. So we have two some cousins, I'll count them as my cousins too,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
are season ticket holders down there. And then I have actually Eric and I have a very close friend from college who is a Red Bulls fan. Yes, we reach across the aisle, as it were. And both of them independently, without any solicitation at
Prompting.
all, reached out and said, "You're lucky to get him." Because they loved him in St. Louis even after this past season.
Hmm.
And my friend Mark, Red Bulls fan, said that he wished they had kept him and not just, not moved, hired whoever they hired after his interim stint, that they had kept him on as the coach. As they really liked the way he worked. So, I mean, on paper, there are things that seem like a very lateral move. If you just look at numbers. I'm hoping that I'm wrong about that. I will say it was funny, the talking points he hit. I wonder if they give them words that you have to use when you are coming to Philadelphia, including gritty,
Okay.
tough,
Yeah.
passionate. We're talking to try to appeal to the fan base. But I mean, I still, I will always be a curtain person, but I'm I'm not mad, about it. I guess
Yeah.
I'm still mad about the firing. I'm not particularly mad about this
Yeah.
choice.
I
I will
mean,
say that Carnell failed to use blue collar and lunch bail, but
yes,
otherwise
true.
he kind of hit the
Mhm.
Philly
Well,
bingo.
there's more press conferences to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta
True.
save them
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. No, I am gonna miss hearing how razor thin the margins are, though.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
That's
I
Gonna,
would
that's a
have
yeah.
big
bought one
one.
of your t-shirts, by the way.
Uh,
Well, those are one thing I'm, yeah, I should still come out with those.
yeah,
Write
you
Yeah.
that one
should.
down.
No, I I think at the end of the day, as much as we want to see the big signings, right?
Mhm.
We want to see signings that we don't need to go out and get like $10 million. I think we've shown that you can go get some. We've gotten good players with very little. Now, I
Mhm.
always feel Ernst likes to spend a little and then try to hit that home run,
Yeah.
the make the big move out of somebody where it's like low risk, high reward
Like
kind of
Yeah.
Kai.
feeling. And I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of the Sugarman mentality too, because they're not going to spend. Sure, we'd like to see them spend more, but the development model isn't a bad way when you look at how successful this club's been with how little they've spent compared to other clubs in MLS.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
good
So
point,
in
but the
one of our
league's evolving too, as we've
Yeah.
known.
mhm. In one
Give
of
us
our last podcasts, you mentioned that about, the development model, that's obviously a big thing for Ernst. One of the questions I have is what team in the world takes that approach and has the silverware to back it up? Like,
Mm.
what team out there has really done this to this level and actually wins things? It would be nice to know, maybe there's two or three at least that shows someone somewhere has actually made this work.
I mean,
That's kind of my concern.
Yeah.
Ajax is famous for it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's literally their model. I mean, and Red Bulls to a certain degree has done that, like with Salzburg, where Ernst is from, and I mean, there are clubs, but also they're getting, like you, Paul, they're getting those 20, $30 million, like 18-year-old, wonder boys, that are coming up and, then they sell them for $30 million. I
Yeah.
mean, it's possible, but I also do think that is a very fair point because there's not a lot of clubs that do that, you
Yeah.
know?
Not only that,
It's
and
hard.
I think like the well, just I think Americans in general, but like definitely in Philly, that's not understood as well.
I don't think that's understood as well as NMLS,
Yeah.
except for like clubs like Dallas, Red Bull, Union. Trying to think who else does that. I mean, that's pretty much all. I mean, Salt Lake. Salt Lake's done that pretty decently as well, but
But yeah, what we care about is championships. That's what we
exactly.
care about,
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I,
there is value to it.
mhm.
I get that, but also it shouldn't be the only focal point, as we've
yeah.
said.
It's like you have to diversify just a little bit. Like I do like this homegrown thing, but it feels
Mhm.
like if that's the only strategy we
Yeah.
hold to, we're never gonna, well, never say never, but we're never gonna win. We're never gonna be in last. Well, I shouldn't, again, never say never, but it's like we're always gonna float at that middle level. And it's like we have to
It
sprinkle in some big purchases every once in a while.
Well, yeah,
I don't
like
know.
look what New York Red Bulls did.
Yeah,
They got Forsberg. It's just like it
change
makes
the
it.
season.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
you need some big signings in there for
I
sure.
mean,
And I think with Messi coming into the league, I think that's forcing a lot of clubs like the Union, they just brought in the arguably the greatest player in the world. Like
Hmm.
yeah,
your farm team, as great as it is, you're not going to be able to consistently compete against those types of forces.
Exactly.
correct, correct. And so talking about that, I mean, you look at the roster, what we have. We have Ian Glenvinovich.
Yeah. How
We're still waiting. Like, is
Yep.
it
You didn't get
Livinovich
the
or
official yet?
Levinovich?
No, we haven't
No,
gotten
I
the
need
Yeah.
to
official.
ask. I need to ask someone I know
I
about
know,
I would
that's
say
what
that.
I was wondering.
Klivinovich. That's how I would say it.
Yeah, but
Livinovich, yeah.
there again, it's been reported that he's got a buy-on offer for what, 3 million potentially,
He's a low risk, high
high
reward
reward
one, I
player.
think.
Mhm.
I think that's been kind of floating around some of the outlets. I think it was South American kind of said that. Nothing's been confirmed by the club. I'd just like to say that, but
Mhm.
it is interesting. I mean, that's kind of the big sign. You bring back Ali. I like that they brought back Ali,
Hmm.
especially during this transition season.
Hmm.
You lose Jack Elliott. Okay. What other signs do you guys want to see and where potentially?
It's funny. I was thinking about this one today.
Mhm.
Um, what do I want to see for this coming year? And, uh, you know, I mean, there's some for me. I would say like there's some positions I think we all loved Martinez in that defensive midfield, and when he left, that was tough.
Yeah.
Flock did, he rose to the occasion. Um, he's gone now. So a strong central midfield position like that, I think is, key. Um, but for me, it's like I don't really know what the one thing is. Like, I don't think it is just a one thing. It's somewhere last season the wheels came off,
Mhm.
and we lost our swagger. We started playing scared to a certain degree. It's like
Mhm.
Christy, you said it. It's like, oh man, it's just like the old unions at times.
Yeah, the bad old days.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
know what would need to fix it, but we just, I don't want to go all Ted Lasso here, but whatever it takes for us just to believe we can do it. Like one of the notes I wrote down was if I was in that press conference room with Carnell, my question would be, when can we start hoping that we'll win MLS Cup? Tell me when that day, because like I don't know, like the magical player that'll fix it or anything like that. Just tell me when we can start hoping for that. If it's this year, then yes. If
Mhm.
it's not this year, for the sake of my sanity, please tell me.
Yeah, like have kind of some odyssey there. It's kind of like with the Flyers, at least with their rebuild, they were kind of like up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's is something because right now when Ernst says we're going to compete this year, it doesn't really feel like we're going to compete,
Mm-mm.
does it?
Yeah. I mean,
I
I
I
don't
hope
feel
know.
we
like
do.
I feel like that's just PR talk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if like Eric said, I don't think it's one player.
Hmm.
I think it's the spine. Like
Hmm.
Yeah.
Eric was talking about it, and one of the things we talked about a number of times in our podcast at the end of the season was that the lack of confidence, the fact that they weren't playing confident. We kind of lost that
Mm.
swagger, as you said, the samba that Martinez
Yeah.
brought to the field. And like Quinn was doing a great
Yeah.
job where he
Yeah.
could. We need more of that. I
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
know
Yeah.
who that player is, but we need that. We need that. What was it? Mentioning Lasso made me think of Jamie Tart. And when is
Hmm.
it time? And I'll give you the signal when I need you to be the prick. Well, we need that prick. We
Yeah.
need we need
Yeah.
that we need that defender who's going to just take out an attacker that needs to be taken out at the right time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Not with authority. We need that midfield player that can make those passes the
Yeah.
way that we have seen players like Sullivan, McGlynn, and Gajdag do. That
Yeah.
there are parts that are there that can do it. We need to see if Carnell can bring them all together and make them play the
Yeah.
way they were.
And maybe that's it, right? Because the 60-30-10, right? That's 60, right? That transition style, right? Counterattacking.
Yep.
And, our defense, Glazes had uncharacteristic, a little shaky points last season,
Hmm.
which I
Yeah.
was not used to.
Two own
Um,
goals.
what's
Yeah.
that?
Two
Two
own
own
goals to
goals.
open
Yeah,
and close the
Yep.
that was
season.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was
Started and ended the season on an own goal.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I think defensively, I like where we're at, with Glavinovic, I'm sure hopefully he'll help. Up front, I remember you guys talking about Baribo, the dawn of
Mhm.
Baribo. I want to just see more of that, right?
Yeah,
So I
Mhm.
feel like
more.
we got the bookends. It's that the middle, maybe that's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, I think you all hit on the head. It's that grit. I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and when Martinez left, and even Carranza to a certain extent,
Yeah.
that passion that he brought.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
I think Jesus Bueno really could have an opportunity to
I
Yeah.
step
mean,
it up.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to
We didn't
see
see enough
more
of
of
him at
Bueno,
the end
and
there.
hmm
it's funny
No.
every time he starts, he scores, or at
Yeah, we need
least
to see those
puts in a
horns.
good,
Hmm.
Mhm.
shift in, and so that's
Yeah,
good.
there it is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I just
And
think the
Bedoya.
midfield, I'd like to see some midfield. I'd like to see a little bit more leadership. I'd like to just see, and Ernst has said this, they're going to bring in, whether it be second team guys getting called up,
Hmm.
they're going to reinforce all positions. I mean,
Yeah.
forward,
Mhm.
I just like to get somebody that can press like
Yeah.
Carranza did. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a Carranza
Yeah.
type player, but and I'd love to get somebody that can pass and feed Baribo and Ua.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
if we can get somebody that can get bit those two the ball, especially on the transition, like we saw in
Yeah.
2022,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
You know who I felt was really good at some of that, but it's just so young yet is CJ Olney.
Olney's
Mm.
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
Kevin at times is
I
good.
mean, they're
hmm
so young yet. Like they have that potential. Just
Yeah.
hmm
Mhm.
but again, they're playing at the next pro level and like they're very good at that. But
hmm
So
yeah.
do you
Well,
want to talk?
sometimes you got to give those young guys that opportunity before,
Hmm.
let them try things that they're not experienced
Mhm.
enough to know they shouldn't try
Yeah.
and
Like
see if they can make it work.
Mhm.
Because
And
sometimes they do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, what guys get a chance because with the new coach too. Like I've said, I was joking with Kyle, I'm like, oh, it's a South African coach. And
here comes McConya.
Makanya, is he going to get his shot? We
Hopefully.
saw him play plenty with Union 2, and
hmm
unfortunately, him getting a dumb red card in the final,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
cost them.
That
It was just
changed
a
the
Yeah.
game.
bad mistake there. But, we've seen him play plenty. He's not terrible, but
He's
also
raw.
he's very raw. I actually have a little more confidence in Neil Pierre,
I
if
think
I'm
we
being
all do.
honest. But there's some guys that I think, given that chance, could produce. I mean, we saw guys like Jack McGlynn and Nate Harriel and these guys
hmm
come up through, and I think David Vasquez has some really good stuff. He just, man, he needs to bulk up a little bit. But
It's got to
some
go
of these
on
That
the
guys,
boy is
McLean
sandwich.
routine.
Even
and I think Frankie Westfield has that it factor too.
I think
I think
Frankie
Frankie's one of the most ready ones.
Frankie really came on this year, and I think
Yeah.
he's a late bloomer. I have seen, you know, he's gotten in the talks about call-ups with the national team now, um, with the U20 national team. Now, he didn't
Yeah.
get called up this window, I don't believe, but I
Yeah.
So
mean,
Sullivan's been hanging around the first, yeah, Quinn has been hanging around this first team for what, 4 years now?
yeah,
It
Hmm.
wasn't
That
until
long.
this year where he's really stepped up. Harriel, similarly, maybe a year less than Quinn,
yeah,
but he really stepped up. McGlynn stepped up the year before.
mhm,
Maybe this is next season. Well, maybe we continue to see them develop into like that those maestros in the midfield that we need to find those spaces. These are possibilities, and this is
yeah,
part of the development model that the team has embraced. So, the first year that you can, you're going to get a couple of late opportunities with the first team, get your feet under you, understand some of the speed of MLS, then you can actually
Hmm.
get a chance maybe to show that you have the quality. And then hopefully you continue to develop that quality. That's a hopeful outlook. I would love to see it happen.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think that's where we're going to really see the benefit because there is talent down there in the second team. It's just going to take time to develop.
Yeah, and we did receive a bit of news today
Hmm.
from Union 2 that they announced the roster decisions ahead of 2025. And for that, um, basically, um, there were a number of players that were re-signed for that. Let me pull that up here a second. And anyway, so we had They announced the players under contract for 2025: Sal Levis, Neil Pierre, Jose Riasco, and Frankie Westfield.
Makes sense.
Which, yeah, those ones made sense. They also exercised the option for Mike Sheridan, backup goalkeeper, real solid. And then Leandro Soria, who is a forward. They exercised his
And
option
if
as
you guys,
well.
and if you no, he has been really good early in the year. He was coming off the bench and scoring a lot, and then he kind of got some injuries,
Yeah, he
and
he
he
didn't
just
feature in the
kind of
playoffs.
didn't
Well,
feature in the playoffs.
yeah, yeah, like
But he's somebody that I interviewed, and he has a lot of potential. I feel he's going to be
yeah,
somebody that's a couple years away, but
yeah.
he's got potential.
And Sal's coming on. We had Sal and Neil
Yeah,
and Frankie all on our pod at one point. They were great. Jose Riasco, we saw so little of him during the season because he only came back in like
and
September,
he
I think.
grew.
And he is, yeah,
Different player.
he is
Looks like a
very,
28-year-old professional.
he's like what, 20, and he looks like
Like
a
20.
man.
Yes.
Yeah. Um
And now he's growing into
he's
his
huge.
body.
Yeah. So it'll be
So,
interesting to see like when he gets like full season training with them. That that could be interesting. So Kyle Tucker was out of contract, but they're in negotiations with him. He's like 25 now.
the oldest player on the team.
He is, yeah, he was the captain. Um, so but they're in negotiations. They did decline the option of Randy Meneses, who is from Ecuador. He is a defender. And then Carlos Rojas as well as defender.
That was a surprise.
That was a surprise because he'd been pretty solid. Now he was on loan as well as Giovanni Sequeira. He was on loan as well.
I hope they
So
pick him up.
yeah, and Giovanni Sequeira is in negotiations, but yeah, Carlos Rojas had been on loan for like the last 2 seasons with
Yeah,
Union too. So
it's a
so he
shame
won't
because
be
he
back.
he had some good
He
moments.
was real solid, yeah. Sequeira, he's had national, like youth national team experience with Venezuela. Like he's had a whole bunch of call-ups.
He's gonna be good.
So yeah, he's pretty good. He was coming off the bench more often than starting with you two, but he was really doing well. So that's where we're at with those. Of course, there's I think, still there's some players that are at the amateur level still that maybe we'll hear things about them or,
I mean, I
some,
mean, Ernst brought up in
yeah.
that press conference about maybe bringing up a striker from the second team, and then in that same sentence, he said the gap between MLS Next Pro and the first team. So he kind of contradicted himself,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it brings up Sal and Eddie. Eddie, of course,
Yeah.
was the leading scorer. I don't know how much you guys have seen of Eddie. Really exciting player, but
Hmm.
again, we want somebody to come in like almost like a Corey Burke, a hold up striker, or
Yeah.
somebody that can press
Hmm.
a little bit more. That's not Eddie Davis. So,
And Eddie's
Yeah.
awesome, but yeah, that's not him.
yeah,
But he was the leading goal scorer for Union too. And from the season he had 14 goals, I believe, including he scored in the next pro
he can
cup.
press. I
Yeah.
will say this. He can press, but that's not his game. His
Yeah.
game is getting breaks up and finishing, getting break.
Actually, one that's exciting to me that featured with Union 2 mostly was Marcus Anderson.
Correct.
He's
And
one that
Yeah.
I'm excited to see if he gets a good shot this
Yeah.
season with the first team because he really came on strong.
if he,
If he stays healthy, because the problem is he kept getting injured. He'd get
yeah,
concussions or this or that. But I think we saw like he was very good early in the season in
He
that
was.
Portland
Yeah.
game.
he
And,
was.
Yep.
but then of course he had that blunder against Cincinnati
Yeah.
when he coughed up the ball. So it just, he's got a lot to learn. But I'll tell you what, the latter part of the U2 season, especially in the playoffs and in the final, like he was awesome.
And then you got Nick Periano
Yeah.
too.
Hmm.
So
Who,
since we started talking you too, what do you think about the coaching shakeup with Marlon being out and Richter coming in?
I mean, I'm a huge Marlin fan.
Yeah, we love
Where
Marlon.
I don't even know where he ended up. Like, where is he?
We don't know
We don't
anything
know
officially
yet.
yet.
There's been a lot of like back and forth floating around that they still want to keep him
In some kind of role.
in some kind of role. Let's put
Okay.
it that way.
Yeah.
That's all we know at this point.
Yeah.
So he wants
So
to
do
be
you
in
think
some,
those questions about the coaching staff might have been, in the Bradley Carnell press conference, was that somebody asking to see if Marlon was getting pulled up to the first team?
Oh
it,
yeah, I remember that question. Yeah.
it could be. I've had conversations just personally where I mean this isn't speculation, just my personal opinion. I would love to see Marlon be the first team assistant.
Yeah,
I think he'd
same.
be amazing, especially if we're going to go the development model. If they didn't go with Carnell and they didn't go with what was the other guy from Salzburg that ended up signing
That
Lesh.
with,
got picked up.
Yeah.
yeah. Eh, I mean, my third option would have been Marlon.
Yeah.
Just go with Marlon.
He knows the
What,
system. He knows the
what are
players.
you going to do? How are you going to get any worse? He knows the system. If you
Yeah.
want to go in development, you're going to see a lot of those players anyway.
Yeah.
So
I do hope Marlon
Develop
has some
players
kind of-
and develop coaches.
exactly.
Mhm.
And that really is the union model. I mean, so
Yeah, so I could see Marlon, yeah, like if he gets on an assistant role with the first team, or maybe he's somewhere else in the union's like development,
I and that's just it,
maybe more at the
even
development
like
squad,
yeah, like the development squad, he'd be perfect
Union
for it.
3
Yeah,
or something,
Union 3, he'd be perfect for that. So I hope he sticks around.
Yeah.
I think the union as a whole benefit from a player like Marlon Blanc, just getting to know him, understanding what he is as not only a coach but as a person.
Hmm.
I think it's amazing. And he's just always been really good to us as well.
Yeah.
And to a lot of the media that
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to be said as well as his character. So as for Ryan Richter, um, I will say this: when I've actually observed him in practice and actually got to during the media game and actually got to be with him,
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I like him as a person, and he's had success at the academy level in that development role. So I'm
He
confident.
certainly knows the team. I mean, how many years did he
Mhm.
spend with Union?
Yeah.
Union 2 and Bethlehem Steel.
Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
and that's that. And then you got Fred, who's reported to be
Yes,
coming in
that was
as
exciting to hear that Fred's still
and
around.
and he's done very well at the academy level and had high marks at the development coach last year.
Is
I forgot
Ilsinho
that
still
Fred was still
in the?
floating out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
still around there.
in the
It's been
coach.
reported. It's nothing's official yet, but that's what's been reported. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Is Ilsinho still involved as well?
um, I know he does his own thing. I mean, outside of just like showing up for player appearance, I don't think he has
Yeah.
anything
Hmm.
official
Okay.
ties with the union.
No, yeah, I'm not 100%
He's doing
sure
his
of that.
own
Yeah.
little futsal. He's doing the futsal academy that he has, and
Hmm.
then he does the player stuff. But yeah,
And I thought there was an announcement. I'm going to have to take a quick look at Instagram and see about that.
well, Jose had dropped like all
Yeah.
his stuff.
Yeah, our buddy Jose Nunez, he's been dropping all kinds of
Yeah.
he's been
Oh,
busy.
okay. That might have been it.
Yeah.
That was it. So, we'll wait to see, but that's what we've kind of heard. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. So
Yeah, it's crazy because where I teach, I have I'm in an interior room, cinder block walls, and so like I can't even get service hardly unless I go out of my room and down the hall. So like really the only time I mean not that I'm going to be checking stuff while I'm teaching anyway, but like I really have no access till I have like lunch or like the end of the day. So it's like then it's like all a matter of catching up. I'm like, whoa, all this stuff is happening. And
Yeah,
that's
the
been
news
like
burst.
lately, oh my gosh, all the stuff like coming
Yeah.
lately. So yeah.
it can be some days can be more busier than others.
Yeah.
And then the days that aren't busy is the days we're catching up.
Yep.
Yeah.
One last question. In all your opinions, what does a successful 2025 season look like? And we haven't even gotten through the transfer window yet. So
Oh man.
Well, the good thing is that the Union are going to have a lot fewer games on their schedule.
Yeah.
It looks like they're not going to make it to Leagues Cup. They're not
Yeah.
making it into the
No.
the CONCACAF Champions League or whatever.
But hey,
You
we
know,
got
so-
Open Cup.
Then maybe
Yeah.
they'll actually
Is
play
that
the
back
first
this year?
game in Open Cup. We can hope.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Well, I
So
mean,
open, Open Cup is back?
I
'Cause
mean,
I remember
nothing's confirmed yet, but that's what everybody's saying is that probably Open Cup is. I mean, the way I'm looking at it, and this is just my opinion, you have the Leagues Cup with what's been reported. It would make sense that the playoff line teams, and again, we'll wait to hear everything out. This is my own opinion.
Mhm.
The playoff teams go play Leagues Cup. The non-playoff teams play the Open Cup. That makes sense to me.
Yeah,
So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, hopefully Open Cup's back.
Gosh, I
Yeah.
hope so.
Wouldn't be mad about it.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
was.
Well, go ahead, Paul. Sorry, I jumped in
Yeah.
front of you there.
So with fewer games on the schedule, and that hopefully then that means that they'll be able to concentrate. Personally for me, certainly a return to the playoffs.
Hmm.
And I would say probably a top 5 finish in the East. That doesn't seem, it seems fairly reasonable. It's 15 teams in the Eastern Conference, I think, coming into next year.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Top 5 finish would be a successful finish and a return to the playoffs. I think if they wanted to exceed, it would be a win or two in the playoffs. Would
Mhm.
be great.
Whilst managing expectations.
Yeah.
we're keeping we're
Yeah.
keeping the bar realistic this year because we've had our heart broken too many times.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
by the way, just real quick, Jillian, I do appreciate your disdain for Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He who shall
Feeling-
not be named.
Yes, yes. Yeah, if I
He is
ever
a-
type his name, I put like B*LE or something like that. I just can't. Yep.
Yeah. As I often joke, he is the reason I ended up in the fetal position on Paul's floor
Yeah.
after that game.
Yeah.
That was rough. But yeah, no, I mean I think obviously I would love if we would just win it, just freaking finally win it. But like
Yeah.
I know that that's little pie in the sky. Especially since there's a lot of change this year. So I don't know that I have much different to say than Paul does. Definitely got to get back to the playoffs though. Got to get back to the playoffs. Often I know that the side tournaments are good for exposure and money and all those things. I do understand that, but I do feel like for our team, maybe our team wasn't strong enough for them. I don't know what it was, but it did seem to detract from what we could have done. Maybe not this past season as much because there were other things going on, Blake being out and trades and things.
Andre Blake.
Yeah, so but like Paul said, with more chance to focus, it would be nice to think that we would at least for the love of God make the playoffs. So but I would love to see a top 5 finish as well.
Great. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
No, I forget which World Cup this was. It's like prediction buyer's remorse. We were in the same group with Ghana, and I remember the same question: what would be a successful World Cup? We got to get out of group play, and we got to beat Ghana, and we did both. And because they had knocked us out the previous World Cup,
Right.
and and then the buyer's remorse kicks in. Then we're moving on. And then I was disappointed when we got knocked out in the elimination round. But it's like, but I got what I wanted. It's like, no, no. But yeah, for me, I would like to see, I think I say this now, and I know what's the Taylor Twellman line? Seldom in doubt, often wrong, I think.
Yes.
Long, seldom in doubt.
So
Yeah. Mhm.
I subscribe to that wholeheartedly. But I would say we have to make the playoffs, and we can't do this wild card into the playoffs. I want us to get in that top, was it top 6? I don't know,
Top,
whatever.
top 7.
Top 7.
Top 7. We
Properly.
got to be top 7. If we're
Yeah.
top 7 and we don't have to play some silly game to move into that 8th spot, no, not a silly game, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Locker game.
I will take that, and the little icing on the top is at least one home playoff game. And I hope I'm totally lowballing what actually happens.
Same, because I would love to get something while Allie's still here. That's what I'm a huge Allie fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge. So, and I know, again, possibly unrealistic, but that would be really nice.
That's, if I could, well, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, if that's either.
Well, I just think
we got to get them a trophy. Go ahead, Paul.
There's too many unknowns going into the start of this season to set the bar higher.
Yeah.
Like, we got to be realistic. Yes, I mean, would I love to see? Like, I don't think you could legitimately set the bar any higher than saying conference final. Anything beyond that, winning the conference and winning the MLS Cup depend on so many different things that go right for you to actually say that's my goal. No, we don't know. There's a lot that we don't know going into this. So right now, I am being a little conservative, but it's still a high bar to finish top 5 in the conference and and make it back to the playoffs. Well, that's it. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know, Jillian, Kyle, what is your goal for this
Yeah.
season? What would you set for, Carnell coming in if you were Ernst Tanner? What is his minimum to keep his job,
I
or
mean,
whatever you want to say is the
For
goal?
Ernst to keep his job.
yeah.
Yeah.
And no, Paul, that's a great question. That's why I asked it, because you're right. There are so many unknowns right now. I mean, we really even haven't gotten into the window. We don't know who's coming, who's going yet, right? So for me, I think right now on January 6th, I'm going to say playoffs or bust
Mhm.
at bare minimum.
Mhm.
And I kind of agree with you, Eric. It's not oh, let's sneak in. It's a 7 or higher.
Mhm.
I still think this team, if Andre Blake does not get injured,
Mhm.
they can be in that 5 to 7 range,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Now he's missed so many games. Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
I am as well. But there's that. There is can with the fewer games. I've always said this, and John, you've been there. I know our buddy Ed, who listens to the show, has said this to us several times. Jim Curtin's ultimate dream was he didn't have to worry about CONCACAF. I know he didn't have to worry about US Cup. He just wanted to play league games, 1 game a week,
Yeah.
set the same
Yep.
lineup every week, and that would have been great for him. And
Mhm.
so I do think that not having all these extra competitions is going to help the union.
Yeah.
More training. And I do agree with Ernst with that. With this young team, more training. For the veteran guys, more rest. So yeah, for me, playoffs are bust. If they were to get into US Cup, Open Cup, I'd like to see them make a deep run.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
too.
That I think that would be the other thing. Now again, we'll wait to hear because we know sometimes the clubs send their second team. So is that Union too? But I'd like to see some good representation
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I would look forward to seeing that because we have yet to experience an Open Cup match. So,
Yeah.
Oh,
and we hear all these great stories. So, yep, that's kind of something. But I think, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. They need to make the playoffs. That's a huge measure of success for the season. And again, yeah, at least top seven. I think that would go a long way. So it will be interesting to see if they do have US Open Cup. Hey, without the Open Cup, we wouldn't have had a Stuart Finley goal.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And you guys don't know I'm a big Stuart Finley fan, but
Right.
anyway, but I think that's just it there. I think considering how many teams actually make the playoffs, getting into there, I mean, if you don't make the playoffs, then
Yeah.
that's kind of yeah, not a good season then.
Yeah.
So,
Almost a
uh,
black mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It
yeah,
Yeah.
really, really is.
Hmm.
yeah.
So,
So yeah, that's my hope as well.
so yeah, I mean, I think that a lot still be decided now between now and February when they kick off in Orlando City. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But again, thank you all for coming on. And before we get out of here, where can people find you at?
Christy?
You're pointing to me and I'm above you on my screen.
Whichever way.
Um, you can find us online at our primarily Instagram for socials, but at More Philly Union. We're also on so sorry, hold on, let me think.
Yeah, you don't
Blue
have the
Sky, I
script.
don't have my script in front of me. Blue Sky and who am I forgetting?
Twitter.
Okay, Threads
Twitter.
as a More Philly Union as well. On Twitter, yes, it's still Twitter.
Mhm.
We are More Philly U. And if you
And our
want to read,
website.
we have a website, morephillyunion.com.
All right. Excellent.
And go ahead.
Yeah. So we have some new articles coming out soon, and again, look for that tomorrow. Stay tuned for more guests.
Yeah, we got some guests lined up coming
Mhm.
up next week. We got some more guests lined up, so stay
Yep.
tuned for that. And
Yep. And
again, this has been wonderful, guys.
yeah.
Almost an hour and a half. That's very long for us. I still think
Yeah.
Dave Leno
Yeah.
2 hour episode where we just started going off with Dave Leno was like great, but this is great.
Yeah.
We'll get them
Uh,
next time. We'll get
Well,
them next
no,
time.
and this again is why we've done started this podcast to have conversations like
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
We'll have to
What?
return the favor and host you guys sometime.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and I
Would
was
love
just gonna
to.
say this has
Please.
been wonderful. We'll have you guys on again some point during the season as well.
Come on over to
So,
our place.
right, hey,
Yeah.
little get together again during the season, but
Yeah.
thank you all so much again.
Yeah.
Thanks so
So
much.
Thank you.
yeah, we appreciate you
Thanks so
guys. This was
much.
a lot of fun.
And
And
so that's all for this episode of the One Team We Agree On.
yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on our various socials, and make sure you guys go and check out More Philly Union as well. Check out their
Absolutely.
stuff as well. They got some great stuff. And leave us comments because we love hearing from you. Keep those coming and spread the word. And yeah, we look forward to reading your comments and getting in touch with you and be back at the games before you know it.
Woohoo!
Yes,
And
Yeah.
until next time, Kyle,
I'm Jillian.
we'll see you at the game.